Hi everyone, welcome back to my series, Agile Development 101. In this episode you can see already I've sped up the video a great deal. I am now doing the development on the next card in my sprint, which is called Adjust Cargo Component to be isomorphic between shipment and quotation. This took me about 90 minutes to do, including all testing and um, refactoring, bug fixing. So while this is going on, I want to talk a little bit about some of the concepts that are here. One is refactoring. So in programming, there's this rhythm you get into of writing new things and then refactoring old things. The reason you refactor old things is you take things that have already been written and you write them in a better way, in a way in which they can be reused more. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm taking all the different parts of the cargo, which currently only works for the quote, and I'm refactoring it to make it independent of the quote, so that it can be used inside the shipment. So what does that do for me? Basically, I have the same component used in two places, so it divides my maintenance in half. If I had a separate quote cargo and a separate shipment cargo, I would have to do 2 times the maintenance and 2 times the work anytime there was any change in the cargo. Now I can change something one time and it works in both places. So it does put a little bit of a restriction on the design because the design also has to be a little bit isomorphic between the two. So the designer has a little bit of extra work, but in the end, the benefit is less maintenance cost and also less complexity of code, which means less technical debt, and also a more consistent user interface, which is also good. Um, Typically you don't want users to learn how to do the same thing in two different ways. It's better if cargo is cargo, and no matter where you encounter cargo, it works the same or almost the same way, so that the user can reuse what he's learned from other areas of the application and apply it when they get to a new area of the application. Yeah, so there's a lot of refactoring going on here. Right now I'm actually removing the cargo from the quote and putting it in its own special component so that I can call it from different places. Um, and then, and so this component is not contained in one file. It's actually separated. It's separated into, business logic, input logic, and display. Um, and then the connection of the display to the input logic and to the business logic. So there's connection points. So I do need to edit a number of files, which might seem like a lot of work, a lot of kind of boilerplate work. But this separation of concerns, separating the different types of logic from each other, allows me to plug and play a lot better. If I ever decided to change my logic layer or change my view layer, I could do so cleanly because there's no overlap between these different layers. So that's another thing that I'm trying to preserve as I go forward. I could always combine it all together, but then I've increased my technical debt again, and which increases my maintenance costs and slows down future development. So I'm being careful to try to separate the concerns. And so another thing that's going to happen in this video after a few minutes is I think that I'm done. I have, uh, it's working on my browser, and then I push all of my commits, all of my saves to the cloud, and I'm waiting for Circle CI to finish running all my tests, and then it fails. So this is a good example, right? It's a good thing this happened because I can talk about what to do in this scenario. You think everything works and you push it to the cloud and then it fails. I get an email that it has failed. I also get a pop-up on my own screen which might be difficult to see because everything is going so fast. But I'm notified immediately when it fails in multiple ways. And again, if I'm working on a team, um, I basically mess things up for my entire team um, if I've broken the build, because uh, now basically the product doesn't work, and and yeah, so once I know that it's broken, it's my job to fix the build. So I immediately go in, I turn on my local tests again, I run them, I find the tests that are failing, which happen to be what we're looking at right now. Well, what we were looking at for a second, um, under edit shipment.tests.jsx. Um, they were working when I wrote them, but then I added some dependencies. So I needed to pass a more realistic cargo object into my component in order for the test to work. And and so once the tests fail, I go back, I check that, I find it, and then I fix the test, and I immediately push in the fix. Um, and there's a whole history of every commit and which commit passed and which commit failed. So you can always see where tests first broke, and if you open up that commit, you can see all the things that changed, in that commit, what lines of code changed. So you have a really good hint as to um, where something went wrong, which improves efficiency a lot for a programmer. If you were just given this application and said tests are failing or something doesn't work, there are tens of thousands of lines of code here. It would take you a while to figure it out. But if you knew that only 3 files were edited, and only 6 lines of code were edited, then it really narrows down from maybe 50,000 lines of code down to 6 lines of code, where the thing went wrong. So this is a lot about development efficiency. You want developers to be productive, meaning not hunting for stuff, not looking things up, not debugging, but immediately locating a problem and fixing it in as short of time as possible. And this continuous integration service that I use makes it a lot easier to do so. So I fix the tests, I push in the new build, and then I mark the card as complete, and I move it to the done pile. So there's one more card left in my in progress for the sprint, which is ability to record shipment cargo. And I've learned more about this card from doing the card that you're watching right now. So what I do is I write in some detail. I add work to the sprint backlog. So my sprint backlog is those lists of cards and all of their contents. I open up that ability to record shipment cargo card, and then I add in some of the steps that I've identified while doing this work for the last 90 minutes. Right, so that's basically all that goes on in here. I guess there's a lot of detail, and I don't expect everybody to understand what's happening unless you're an expert at React and Redux. But I hope that this is informative and learn something about both refactoring and continuous integration, and why it's so useful and increases in efficiency. Okay, enjoy the rest of the video. See you next time.